Welcome to my presentation, Closing the Loop, the concept of product support operations within the Deming model. In this model, I am going to apply the concept of product support operations using the Deming Systems Model to provide a more robust view of the Deming System Model to include customer interactions. Our understanding of how modern organizations were structured began with an analytical approach designed by the military of that time. The concept was simple. Take a product we want to build and break it down into its individual parts. The roles and functions responsible for building that particular part is defined and then placed in hierarchy similar to the one shown here. In this example, we have a generic manufacturing operations label which can be most any product. The role and functions required to build that product would be listed underneath it in a sort of hierarchy. This view is effective at showing how an individual part of an organization function relates directly to a product in a top-down hierarchy, which is effective at explaining how simple organizational designs operate by illustrating which element is responsible to whom. However, this view does not illustrate the relationship between the individual parts themselves. For example, the relationship between manufacturing and shipping. William Deming introduced the concept of an organization as a system using the Deming Systems Model. This model is effective at showing how elements within an organization work as a closed system to manufacture a product. This model expanded upon the traditional view of organizations to specifically show interactions between all of the different elements within an organization as it relates to the goal of a product. Deming's system model begins with the stage 0, or the initial idea or concept representing the customer wants or needs. This initial idea or concept is given to the design and redesign function, which then translates the initial idea or concept into a set of requirements. These requirements are provided to each individual element within the organization to be used to align resources towards fulfilling these requirements. For example, suppliers of materials and equipment identify and supply parts that meet the requirements flowed down to them from the engineering function. In real life, these requirements may go through many different hands, but this is conceptually accurate. Production, for example, will identify and develop production procedures and gather processes and resources that take parts provided by suppliers and produces initial subparts. Assembly receives the requirements and information related to how the subparts are built and identifies and develops processes and resources to assemble the final product. The inspection function once again takes these requirements from the design and redesign function and information about the final assembly and subsequent functions and identifies and performs inspection requirements on the final product. The distribution function takes these requirements provided by the design and redesign function to design packaging and methods to distribute the product to the customer. The customer receives and subsequently uses the product, whereupon the organization consumer research function gathers product usage information in the form of such tools as surveys and direct customer feedback. This information is subsequently provided to the design and redesign function, which uses this information to redesign the product and provide updated requirements to organizational elements to update the product design. Note that in most cases, there may be more functions in a real-life manufacturing operation than the ones shown here, but the main concepts shown in this model still apply. Note also that although the concept of product support operations has been designed with defense articles in mind, the main elements of the concept of product support can be applied to most any complex and costly product, such as trucks and automobiles. This model is an upgrade from the previous model as it shows relationships between all entities within an organization. This model is an upgrade from the previous model as it shows relationships between all the entities within an organization as it relates to a specific goal, in this case being to build a product based upon an initial concept. However, it is limited in that it provides limited understanding of interactions between the customer and the organization. This model implicitly ignores how the customer uses and interacts with the product itself. There are also some instances in which the product may be too complex for the customer to use and maintain. For example, the ability to repair the fuel injection in a car is beyond the capability of most car owners. The model also does not provide the organization with an understanding of the long-term use of a product. For example, some long-life or high-cost items may require changes in how the product is used, as its operability may have changed since the product was built. All of this information can be used by the organization to both improve how the product is used and maintained in relation to customer capability, and improve product design itself to make the product easier to operate and maintain or provide assistance to the customer in these regards. The product support operations model expands upon the Deming model by adding the concept of product support operations. Product support operations adds two additional customer interfaces for the organization. product use, and product repair, salvage, and disposal. The product use function provides the design and redesign function with information on how the customer uses the product. This information can be used by the organization to design the product to make it easier to use by the customer, or in some extreme circumstances, such as in military defense articles, to operate the system for the customer. The product repair, salvage, disposal function provides information to the organization related to how the customer maintains the product in three main categories. Repair, where the product is returned to a usable condition after critical failure. Salvage, where the customer decides to remove reusable components from failed products for use in other products. And disposal, where the customer needs to dispose of the product once the product has finished its usable life cycle. All of this information is provided with the consumer research function previously mentioned in the Deming System Model to the design and redesign function to be used in the redesign of the product with these new functions in mind. The addition of the product support operations to the product support operations model explicitly adds customer usage behaviors to the design and redesign of a product. It provides the ability to understand how the customer operates a product based on the product design, returns a product to an intended usable state after critical failure, scavenges parts to be used on other similar systems, and takes actions to remove the system from inventory with the least cost of impact once its life cycle has been completed. Note that the disposal action also considers externalities, defined as costs borne by others within the system for an action, by reducing the impact of such factors as radiation and hazardous waste on others within the system. In closing, the addition of product support operations changes the role of each function within an organization. Each role must now consider how the product is manufactured and used. This new focus requires the application of new elements between the customer and organization to understand this new requirement. The payoff of this new focus is a product that is less expensive to build, easier for the customer to use and maintain, less costly to operate, and a product that lasts longer than before. I hope that this presentation helped you understand how product support operations can be an integral part of an organization's manufacturing operations.